Hello, and welcome to Moko Says Create. Creating is hard. Get inspired and learn with us. I'm Monica Maldonado, and I'm joined with, or by...
With or by Corey Willis, whichever you prefer.
I guess so. Here he is, everyone. And I'm the Mo in Moko. He's the Co in Moko. I'm pretty sure that makes sense now. We don't have to explain that every time.
Yeah, I don't think we ever need to explain that ever again.
Okay. It's just people were wondering.
People were wondering if we were boogers.
Yeah. And welcome to episode number 4.
That's right. And today we're going to be talking about research versus getting stuff done.
Yes, we all know how much
research
fun
is
research
the mortal
is.
enemy of getting stuff done.
It's the frenemy.
Yeah,
Remember?
that was her idea.
Remember?
Yeah, remember from 20 seconds ago when you said that? And I was like,
okay.
no.
Because, I mean, we're going to talk about it. Research is so important, but it's also annoying for so many reasons. And evil.
So many reasons.
Yeah, so we'll get to explaining that.
Yeah. So it's the old dilemma. You walk into the library, you can turn to the left and look at all the researchy books. You can learn about the history of some dynasty. You can look up photograph and illustration guides, or you can turn right and go in the study room and get stuff done.
Yeah.
Do some sketching or write the first draft of your short story.
Yep, it's as Corey called the ancient dilemma.
The ancient dilemma. That's
It
right.
is a dilemma, and I didn't think about it like that until you wrote it. I was like, oh my gosh, he's so right.
I'm so right.
Because there is the study room, and then there is the research part, which is like the entire library. So you could spend all day in the entire
They've
library.
got it stacked against you, big library, out to make sure you don't get stuff done.
Yeah, and
right.
what's funny is the study room is like really tiny. It's always small.
Yep.
So it's like you could spend all day, you'll spend most of the day in the big library rather than the small study room, which is
Yeah.
where things actually get done.
Exactly.
The struggle.
That's right.
Yep.
So we're going to go over some practical ways to help yourself get the research, because you need to research for most things. Like
Yeah.
if you're going to set a story in a certain time period, well, you should probably at least know a couple things about that time period
Yeah.
and not just make stuff up and then look really stupid when people review your book. And like, did you read anything about this? And then with art, if you...
Yeah, if you want to do a new technique, a new style,
Right.
you can't just jump into it.
Right, you want to
looking-
learn from the people who've done the work already, and you just glean the knowledge they have.
Yeah.
But if you spend 6 months in the library and all you do is research every day for 6 months, well, you'll know something really well. And then, so what did you create all that time?
Oh,
Absolutely nothing.
nothing. And it was sad.
And then you finally start it, and then you're like, well, actually, I think I want to set it in this time period instead.
Man, no.
So you have to get stuff done too.
Yeah. Yeah. The same thing with artists, I guess, creators in general. You can spend so many hours looking for reference photos even. Just reference photos. Like trying to find that perfect reference photo. And then you'll never actually get to experimenting whatever object you wanted to paint or create. So, yeah.
Yeah, and the same goes for Wikipedia. Like I'm just going to quickly read on Wikipedia about this time period or this person, this historical person, or just some scientific concept, and then, a day and a half later, you're like, what happened? Where did the time go?
Oh, Wikipedia.
What happened?
What happened? Yes, I agree. So, we all agree that research is important, but it can be all of these awful things at the same time.
Just awful.
So, what is the first tip that we want to share?
The first tip is scheduling. I feel like almost every topic we talk about scheduling comes up.
Scheduling.
Because I feel like
It's just so
scheduling
important.
is integral to getting stuff done.
Yeah.
No matter what you're doing. And what you want is discrete times for research and discrete times for actually doing the thing. Whether it's writing or painting, whatever. You have to separate them out.
Yes. I agree.
I was letting you cough. It looked like
Oh.
she was trying to cough, and I was going to let you let her cough.
Thank you. Sorry.
She's over there dying.
I was like, no, I don't need to cough. But then when you said just cough, I was like, oh, I guess I do, huh? So then I did.
You sure look like you needed to cough.
Okay, well, I'm good now. But
That's
yes,
good.
I was going to continue what you were saying. How at least with myself, I like spending time each day studying a new topic or a new technique, because I think that's the most efficient way to learn something new, rather than, okay, on Monday, I am going to teach myself watercolor, something that is, I don't watercolor. I've tried it, but it's something that I know nothing really about. So it's like, okay, Monday, I'm just going to learn everything there is about watercolor, about paint, about brushes, about technique, everything. And I could do it, but I don't think it's as efficient as, okay, this week I'm going to spend 20 minutes every day, maybe looking up a tutorial on watercolor, maybe color mixing, maybe learning about values or something different each day, rather than overwhelming myself all in one day. So yeah, definitely setting those times out. And then I also think it's important to have I don't know what you could call it, like a section. I'm thinking of Pinterest. So on Pinterest, you pin pictures or links or whatever to certain boards. So in my head, if I want to learn something new, like a new technique, say in oil painting, I'll have an oil painting board, new technique, something. And then every little link or every little thing or reference photo I find related to that, I'll pin it. And then I'll add these pins throughout, weeks or months or however it is I'm giving myself that time to learn something. And then I'll look back into it and realize, wow, I have all of these reference photos collected and I forgot about these. This is so helpful now, more helpful than it was back when I pinned it at first. So giving yourself, weeks, days, months, whatever, to collect all of that information will help your brain so much, absorb that new information rather than, I'm going to pin all there is in the whole entire world in 1 hour and then finally finish this huge different project of something I know nothing about by, 3 p.m. today. It's just too much.
Well, and I think you touched on something. There's two separate things here. There's scheduling and then there's archiving.
Archiving. That's an amazing word.
So I do this I just started working on a radio drama, and there's a lot of techniques I'm unfamiliar with. Okay, how do I scene transition in a radio play? It's very different from other mediums. Like in film, I just do a fade in, fade out. And it's you can do audio fade in and out, but there's also you have the narrator do it, you have the music chime and come in and then transition with new audio. So what I did is I have that saved in a file dedicated to radio drama files, resources. So that way, when I work in a radio drama, and if let's say I don't write a radio drama for a couple months, and I come back to it, and how did that work again? Where did I find that article? Yeah. And then you're Googling all over again, wasting hours
trying to find
researching the same thing again. So cataloging these resources that you find online in books, even just write down the name of the book and the page it's on, if it's a book, in your document with all your other materials, and you will save yourself so much trouble.
Yes.
And so if you're researching a time period, you have the 1600s research file. It just be a Microsoft Word file, a Google Drive doc, and just list all of your resources right there. So that way, when it comes to relearning it, because that's the thing is you're not you're talking about, if you spend all these hours researching, when you come back, your retention level is probably going to be pretty low.
Yeah.
So if you have it all tucked away and easy to get at, then when you want to come back to it, or I need to fill in that gap in this part, you know exactly where it is, and you're not wasting time again re-researching over and over.
Yeah, I agree. And I think another key is organization. I feel I know a few artists, or me myself, I'm not super organized. A lot of artists aren't, a lot of creators aren't. But if you really want to be efficient in learning a new technique, something that you're not familiar with at all, it's going to take a lot of organization. You just need to push yourself and say, okay, I want to change. I want to do this new thing. Get organized. Learn how to Google Drive. Learn how to pin. Learn how to, organize yourself, whether it's through the web or physically with, actual art books, bookmarks, whatever works for you. You just need to find it and apply yourself and stay organized.
Yeah, well, and for art resources, a lot of times having it on paper is much more satisfying.
Yeah.
And also the paper they're printed on presents the art in a much better light than just on your computer screen. Like, it's
Yeah.
a very different experience. So, like, I have a lot of art books on my shelf for that exact reason. Even though it's like, oh, I could just Google it, probably. It's nice having that on paper, too.
Yeah, I agree. Art books are so cool.
They're so cool.
I love art books.
So the next segment is on journaling. Why don't you launch us into that one?
Yeah, so for me, when it comes to creating art, drawing, oil painting, watercolors, whatever, before learning a new technique, I guess, I think it's a good idea to experiment with it and to play around with it before you apply it on this huge canvas that you're planning to sell or that you're planning to, I don't know, if it's a commission maybe, or you're planning to hang on your mother's wall in her kitchen or her living room. Play around with this new technique first. So I like to have a journal, a mixed media journal, so that I can not only just do sketches in, but oil painting and watercolor, acrylic, whatever kind of paint. And sometimes you need to have a really certain type of like thick mixed media paper or gesso it so that the oil painting will stay on it and it will absorb it. And if you're going to look up on tutorials or use art books as references for this new technique, make sure you're playing around with it in a journal rather than playing around with it on canvas, because canvas is expensive. And journals, you have like 150 pages to play around with, and you're not spending as much money. And I think it's just the best way to learn and feel confident in learning this new technique, because you can make mistakes and it's not going to be as overwhelming. It's not going to be like, oh, I just made this huge mistake on a canvas and now I have to give it to my mother and it's stuck there forever. Like, no, play around with it first. And it's hard for me to do that. I like to just get to the canvas. But when I do experiment in my journal, I feel much better because I'm like, okay, I'm ready. I'm pumped. I can do this. I played around with it. So that's really what I wanted to expand on with the journaling note.
Yeah, and the same goes for in storytelling. So I've started probably like 4 different novels. Mm-hmm. And then I would get a quarter to 50% of the way through it, and it would just kind of fizzle out over and over again.
Yeah.
One, because like I didn't study structure enough to like kind of set it up better. So then what I did is I started just iterating on short stories, getting feedback, taking that feedback into a new story, then submitting that to my writers group, and then doing that over and over. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, you're talking about like wasted money buying the supplies.
Yeah.
It's not so much an issue with writing because you're writing on a computer.
Yeah, you're right.
But what you're wasting is time.
Yes.
Lots of time.
Oh my gosh.
And, those novels, like I'll probably never go back to because they're broken, which I mean, in a way it wasn't a waste because I was still learning.
Right. You learned all those things.
But why not learn with 1,000 to 3,000 words versus 50,000 words or more?
A whole novel that you wanted to do.
Right, exactly. So you learn so much and so much faster that like, so if you wanted, I keep bringing up time periods because I feel like time periods I feel like the ones where you can sink the most time into.
Yeah.
Like if you want to make an accurate representation of like the early 1800s, like you've seen some TV shows, you have like some little nuggets that are probably not true.
Yeah.
And, if you're doing fiction, at some point you don't care that much about making it unless it's a period piece, then you do care.
Right.
But why not make a short story set in that time period, kind of in a simpler scope, where you're not dealing with as many moving parts, and you can like study those specific elements, like what kind of cars were they driving? I need a car. And those simpler things, or cars didn't exist, were they using a cart?
Yeah.
And what kind of cart was it? Just some basic things. And then you can exercise in a much smaller scope.
Yeah.
And that way you're not wasting so much time on these huge projects where you're researching and then you're like, I didn't even like this. So doing a short story, you might figure out, actually, I really don't like this time period. It's not that as interesting as I thought it would be. And then you do another short story in the 1600s and you're like, wow, this is way more interesting. And then you do your whole novel set in that same time period, and you didn't have to like waste writing
and you
a huge
have
novel on the other one.
confidence that you know this period.
Right, exactly. And then from the feedback, if a lot of people liked it, once you polish it up, then it's like, okay, I feel good about working in this
Exactly.
in this time period around this genre. this type of character, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
Getting
the
feedback.
same applies. It's wasting time, money. It can waste so many different resources.
Yes, I agree. When you were saying pieces, because that made me think back to, guess what? Music.
Oh, yeah. It's always music. If she knows the definition of a word, it's only in a music context.
Yep.
Like, oh, you know this word? Oh, yeah, it means like, a quarter eighth note. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
that's not. I mean, yes, it also means that, but
That's the
like
only
your
way.
average person would not think of that. They would think of this other definition.
I think one word was, like you said, exposition one day. I think it was exposition. You're like, do you know what the exposition is? And I'm like, yeah, it's a part of a piano. I forget, like sonata or. It's a part of the symphony or something. I forget what it was exactly. And I was like, yeah, the first movement is the exposition. That's where they, expose the new theme or the notes. And you're like, oh my gosh, you just face palm yourself like you always do.
Like I always do. And what's funny is like you had the root, the same root of the word. So like you were almost there. Like what exposition is, but it wasn't quite there.
Yeah.
Because you only do the music context.
Yes. That's me, everyone.
That's her.
But yeah, kind of going back to what you were saying about pieces, it reminds me of, where either with my music students or myself as a music student, as a musician, I didn't just go straight into, oh, I'm going to play this Beethoven sonata. Like, I had to get there. I had to build. I had to start somewhere. If I wanted to learn something about the classical period, it's like, okay, let's start with, classical book level 1 or whatever, and learn about the classical period. Learn about the phrasing that was used in that classical period. Don't just jump into it, because you can play the notes and it'll be like, note, 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 note. But if you know nothing about the classical period and the phrasing, it's not going to sound classical at all. So study up on not just reading the classical notes, not just like, oh, let's read about this technique, but apply it, like know the history about it before you get into dun 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 the Mozart sonata or Beethoven thing. I don't know.
What the heck?
But like build into it, and it's going to take time, like you were saying. But that's the only way it's going to be efficient, is if you allow yourself to be the student, to be a learner, rather than, oh, I'm an aficionado in this thing that I just looked over in an hour. Like, give yourself time and don't be afraid to just learn and make mistakes.
Exactly. And to recap here, the best way to handle research is to schedule your discrete research and creating times, getting stuff done times, and then after that, journaling or just iterating on smaller projects around the key concept to get better at it.
Yeah.
And then I think that was it.
That
I
was
thought there
pretty
was a
much
third point, but then because we had a third point on here, but it's kind of the second point.
Yeah. But I do want to add, if I can add. Can I add something?
Sure.
I guess this kind of goes back to scheduling, like time management. But in the midst of learning these two new techniques or new style, whatever it is you're trying to learn, in order to apply it into some new big project that you've never done before, I think it's important to really make time for what you're already used to, what you're already comfortable at doing, what you're already strong at. So like with me, it's oil painting and painting, I don't know, weird swirly lines. And so rather than just telling myself, I just need to watercolor all week long until I become a master at watercolor. It's like, no, I'm going to watercolor today. And then tomorrow I'm going to oil paint, because that's what I know about. That's what I'm a, air quote, master at, so that I have that confidence. I think it's so important to just be confident in your craft, rather than just, what's the word? Like
Winging it.
No, rather than being too harsh on yourself, like, I'm horrible. I'm a horrible artist, just because you can't do watercolor on your first day.
Right.
Like, still dabble in what you're already good at, so that you're not losing your confidence in your craft, if that makes sense.
Right. Don't beat yourself up don't beat up your self-esteem too much.
Yeah,
give yourself something you know you're good at. That way you can let's try it. Pat myself on the back. I did pretty good.
Pretty much. I mean, because we need that, especially as creators. You need to feel good in what you create, or else people will kind of see it. Like, I find that when I force myself to paint something on a day that I'm, like, not feeling as confident, and I show my work to somebody, they'll be like, nice.
That's nice.
That's nice. And I'm like, But they're right. It really was just nice because I wasn't feeling it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's nothing worse than saying, "Oh, it looks pretty good." That story was pretty good. That painting's pretty good.
It's nice.
It's like pretty good equals the worst thing you've ever made, and it's awful.
Yeah. It's like I want people's jaws to drop every single time. This is not fair. It's not nice.
It's not nice.
It's not just nice. But yeah. No, just, don't tell yourself, I'm moving to watercolors now and I'm just going to be a watercolorist.
That's right.
No, you can be everything. Just go easy on yourself.
That's right. Go easy on yourself.
Yep. So I think that closes it pretty well. Our discussion, I mean.
Yeah.
On research versus getting stuff done.
Yeah, and get out there and get stuff done.
Yeah.
Get out of the research section and get into that quiet working, or actually, like, I guess they call it like the loud room, at least our library. It's like,
you're right, it
like
does. It's called the loud room.
Yeah,
the
get in there
room.
and scream into your paper or something.
Scream at your laptops.
Yeah.
Yep, that's probably why they made a loud room for those angry artists.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So now we're going to go over what inspired us this week.
Yeah, Corey, what inspired you this week?
Oh, I go
I'm
first.
interested.
Okay. I'm interested. So mine is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Oh.
I've been going to a friend's house and watching it every Monday night for a while now.
Yeah.
Before that, we watched Death Note, and we watched all of that. We've dabbled with a couple other shows, but Brotherhood, we're like on like the second to last season, season 4, I think. But
cool.
The show is just really well written.
Nice.
Like I liked the original Full Metal Alchemist show back in the day, but they basically went past where the manga had been written up to, so it kind of went off. Like the story kind of derailed and it was kind of crappy. Whereas this one is it was made after the manga was done now, so it's much better.
Gotcha.
Like the overall story. And the thing I like the most that I'm always inspired by and trying to figure out how to like steal is the ramping up of the scale of things. Where the magic in the world is they draw these transmutation circles in the ground. It's like a circle and they have lines in it and they can basically change matter, like exchange matter. Like they put in something and then they can create something from that or something, essentially. But they keep raising the stakes and making it like, they're like creating those same circles, but on the scale of like, it's surrounding the entire country. Spoilers. It's an old show now, so it's like spoiling the show.
Okay.
Because come on. It's like spoiling Star Wars. Darth Vader's Luke's father. Spoilers. But it's just the scale of like that. It's the same magic system, but just applied to like this really cool scale where you're like looking at a map of the country and like realizing they're like trenching out this magic circle to just like sacrifice everyone inside the entire country. It's like, whoa.
That's intense.
It's really cool. But it's just the way it's handled and all the character writing is just inspiring. I'm always like, man,
cool.
I really like the way they did that character arc.
Yeah.
Or where that's the overall story is heading. It's really cool.
Yeah. That's neat. I still haven't watched. This is a show, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's an anime.
Anime, yeah.
Based on a manga.
I remember watching something about it on Hulu a long time ago when like Hulu was kind of new.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, what is this?
What is this?
I don't know which one it was, but yeah, I need to finish that. I need to go back. There's too many shows, Corey. There's too many shows. My inspiration this week is Jake Parker. I think I've told you about him before, the illustrator.
You won't shut up about him. Blah, blah.
I won't shut up about it? What?
Yeah.
But I follow him on Instagram too, and I guess, I don't know, he's been on Instagram, but like not as often as before. He's the guy, I think he founded Inktober. Like he started Inktober, I should say.
Oh, okay.
So he wasn't as active, I guess because, like, it's summer, vacation, family time. And so he finally posted a drawing that he did. It's like a dino hybrid robot thing. And he always does that. Like, he turns things into robots. And you know how much I love robots.
Yes, we do.
I love robots. And I especially love the way Jake Parker draws robots, because this kind of goes along with the research thing. What he did was he researched and took a lot of reference photos of, like, machines, actual machines, like airplanes, like the engines inside cars and motorcycles. And he studied how those work. And then he applied that to his illustration knowledge in order to create a robot. And so he, like, imitates the design of engines or, like, propellers or something, and he draws them so well. Like, they're so detailed, and that's because he took so much time studying machines. And I'm like, wow, that's dedication. Because studying machines is so intimidating, like all of these things going here and there and there. And he makes it look so easy. It's not. So yeah, he's definitely always inspired me, just with his motivation to create. And he always posts, like, a lot of motivating videos about creating on YouTube and everywhere, really. So yeah, just seeing that dinosaur picture that he drew and posted this week, I was like, oh, he's back. Aww. Even though he wasn't, like, gone, it's just, I go on Instagram, like, every day, and he's not posting every day. He
hasn't posted in, like, 3 days. Oh, no.
He does so many things, though. He's like this Superman of illustration. So yeah, that's mine. And I think if you are an artist, you should check him out on Instagram and his website and Twitter and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll follow him everywhere.
Yeah.
Nice. And next we're going to talk about what we're working on, just for some good old-fashioned accountability.
Ooh, boy.
Oh, boy.
Ooh, boy. We all love accountability.
No.
No.
No, we don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm working on a new radio show called... It's not called... Ooh.
Sorry. That was me, interested.
That's not that's me, interested. No, it is called Enter Oblivious. Mm-hmm. And it is a radio drama in the style of old shows like X-1 for really old people. And think of, like, a radio drama version of Twilight Zone.
Oh, I love
for older but slightly younger people.
Yep.
And then for really young people, it's like that new podcast, Welcome to Night Vale.
Oh.
Except not a comedy.
Gotcha.
Like, some episodes of it will be slightly comedic, but that show is definitely, like, it's creepy, but it's definitely a comedy. Whereas
I remember
this
you
one
talking about
really.
It. Like,
yeah, it's great.
Years back.
It's really good. But that one is more of a straight up comedy, whereas this one is
Gotcha.
not. Is a little more serious.
Yes.
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 It is serious.
Oh, very. So I'm working on. I finished the first script, and then I have a couple other story outlines finished. So next week, over the next week, I will be working on finishing up those scripts, and then we'll start recording them, and then eventually you'll hear them. But they take a lot more production than just a regular podcast, because it involves more people and editing and sound effects and lots of music and all that jazz. So it'll be a little bit until it's out. But
I'm excited.
That's what I'm working on.
It's a cool project.
Yeah.
I love it. Yep.
Yep.
Sorry, I was about to hiccup and I was going to speak at the same time, but I'm like, no, yep.
Wow, she's just coughing and hiccuping. She's a professional.
It's because I'm a human being.
I'm a human being. I have problems.
And I have hiccup issues.
I have hiccup issues and all kinds of physical maladies.
So this week, what I'm really working on is adding to my journal still daily, as much as I can with the time I have. And that's mainly oil painting and also illustrating. So one or the other. And then finally finishing my Norway painting. So the painting is like kind of a fisheye lens perspective. Oh, what's it called? Something perspective. I forget. But it's of the city called, well, not city, like like section, like a downtown area of Norway, of Oslo. Grünerløkka is what it was called. Grünerløkka.
Teranarchus.
Teranarchus. Oh my gosh. And so I'm finally finishing that. I want it to be done before September, but guess what? It's the last week of August. So I'm really hoping I finish it in September. Just sometime in September. That's my goal. And yeah, that's kind of all I've been doing. All I've been up to.
Nice. Well,
yeah.
Keep it up.
I will.
Up.
Yeah.
Keep it
and
up.
I'm also still teaching all my little students. We started the new school year.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm so excited.
She's out of control today. Just breaking the
I'm
studio.
just so excited.
She's excited.
For my students.
She's so
and my
excited that she can't even speak
so excited.
the words.
Yep. So there you go, people.
So there you go. You can check us out on the web at mokosayscreate.com.
Yeah, check us out.
If you have any feedback, you can send us an email to mokosayscreate@gmail.com. We technically have our feedback at mokosayscreate.com as well, but I keep forgetting about it.
And
I guess we should say our actual new email address.
Yeah, and if you like what you hear, we hope you do. We hope it gives you some inspiration or you learn something with us.
Yeah.
Like us and follow us on the Spotify
Please
and the
like
iTunes.
us.
And no, I mean, like, really. Don't just listen to us and not subscribe.
Yeah,
because people do that.
Yeah.
They'll listen,
what
but
are
they
you
don't
doing?
subscribe.
What are you doing?
It's
Click
like,
that subscribe button.
If you've heard all these episodes
Smash that
this
like button.
far,
like all the YouTubers say,
then
smash that like button, right?
Smash it.
Ow.
But yeah, what I'm saying is don't just, be a weird stalker. Like, actually commit to the relationship.
Exactly. Give something back. Give us a like. Give us a subscribe. Come on.
Yep.
All right. And until next time,
Moko says create.
You always forget that we're going to do the end, don't you?
What?
You always forget we're going to do that.
Yes.
Every single time I look at her and she's like, oh yeah. We're going to do the Moko says create at the end, aren't we?
What's the line?
What's my line? Line?